It will have several subsections that will cover most of the things that we can, that I think are the crucial things. Okay, so that's the main goal today. We can do a very long session. I'll be giving breaks in the middle, so you can go and take a rest and come back. So as this is the final session, okay, final session that we are doing, so it's going to include past paper question discussion, theory teaching, and sort of the final revision, right? So it's an all-in-one session that will be done today, right? And when I'm sending recordings, it will be sent as segments as well. So this is the first part. We are going to sort of warm up today's session with some questions. Okay, then we'll move on to theory teaching. Then we'll come back to questions like that. Okay, so that's the plan for today. I have several things to finish today. I have to finish plant reproduction part. I have to finish what is remaining from the systems or the processes in the body, and I have to finish tissues, right? So those are the things I have planned, and I am going to do questions from biosphere while teaching theory parts. Okay, so Taggala inna, while the people are joining, Taggala do this question. Yes, I will probably go beyond past 5 p.m. today, right? I will be giving breaks. This is the very last session. Okay, so tell your friends to join. This will be the very last session. Okay, so okay, so the even the above question, this one, it's from biosphere. So you know these are, there can be hybrid structures, a questions, right? We'll discuss this also, right? Question number one, part, right? Some compounds disposed to the draining gutter and the outer atmosphere during lab activities. Okay. Okay. So while people are joining, we'll continue. Okay. So I'm not teaching. I'm not going to teach. I think we'll just do the discussion. Okay. So Taggala, let's do this one. What are they asking? Contributes to increase the soil pH value. So pH, if pH is increasing, that means what? If the pH value is increasing, that means it's becoming more and more basic. So something that can be added to the soil to increase the pH value or increase the basic nature. What is here? Calcium hydroxide. All right, calcium hydroxide causes an increase in the heavy metal composition in the underground water. Heavy metal in composition. What is the only heavy metal that is given here? Calcium is not a heavy metal, it's an alkali, right? So all these are non-metals. Sodium is an alkali metal. All these are non-metals. What is the only heavy metal that you can see here? Chromium, no? Potassium dichromate, right? So you can say K2Cr2O7. Eutrophication state. Eutrophication. What can cause eutrophication? Your phosphates, no? Right? Phosphates can, that's like a fertilizer, right? Phosphate fertilizer again. So when that sort of phosphates increase, it's like appearing we have added a fertilizer. So eutrophication means what? Excessive growth of certain floating algae, right? Eutrophication is the excessive growth of sort of green color layer, right, on the top of water bodies. So what can cause eutrophication? Yes, your phosphates and nitrates, no? PO4 3 minuses and nitrates, NO3 minus. Yeah. So what green color formulae is produced, right? So it is a large population of algae, right? So what are these if some sort of a product is releasing these two species, it can cause eutrophication. So, what is the only one? So, sodium phosphate, right? Now, finally, photochemical smoke. Photochemical smoke. Takka lagi yan? What can cause photochemical smoke out of here? Yes, as well as acid rain, contributing to smoke as well as acid rain. Yes, contributing to smoke as well as acid rain. What is the chemical? Yeah, it has to be something acidic, right? It has to be something acidic. Oxides of nitrogen and sulfate, right? Sulfur. So, contributing to both. What do you think? What is contributing to both? Yes, it is actually nitrates, Kuda. Okay. If you go and read your extra knowledge page, right? If you go and read your for extra knowledge page under photochemical smoke, they mention that it's oxides of nitrogen that produce photochemical smoke, right? Yes, if you take acid rain, you can take sulfur dioxide as well, but they are asking smoke as well, right? So to take smoke, to produce smoke as well as acid rain, you have to consider the nitrate, nitrogen containing oxide, right? Got it, right? So that is mainly something chemistry and bio related, right? So this is the one I'm going to focus today. Outline of the classification of living organisms. Okay. Archaea, bacteria. මේවට අපි මොනවද කියන්නේ? What are these three? And what is something that is missing from here? What do you call these three? මේවට අපි මොනවද කියන්නේ? What are these levels of classification? Yes. Archaea, bacteria, and what's remaining here? What do you call? Yes, those are domains. So eukarya is what's remaining, right? So eukarya has what are these? So okay, these are domains. This level is domain level. What are these? What is this level? It is kingdom, no? That is kingdom level. Okay. Is it? Is there a lag? No, right? Okay, right. Yeah, it will get better. So these are kingdoms, no? So kingdoms you have Protista, fungi, yes, Plantae. What is missing? You have only four kingdoms. Animalia, no? Animalia, kingdom Animalia. Then, I mean, these are not real classification. This is not a real level in classification as invertebrates and vertebrates, right? So it's not a real one, but we can commonly accept, we can divide them into based on the presence of what? A vertebral column, right? A vertebral column. So ඇත්තටම this Pisces කියලා ඇත්තටම there's no such sort of classification. When you come to A levels, you will understand there's two subspecies, I mean, two classes as Ostichthys and Chondrichthyes, but doesn't matter, right? So Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and who is missing here? Your mammals, neither Mammalia, right? Don't write mammals, huh? Because why? Right? Don't write mammals because why? They have given Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves. So you have to write Mammalia, not mammals. So Coelenterata or Nidaria, right? Then Annelida, Mollusca, Arthropoda, and finally what's missing? Echinoderm. So your starfish වගේ අය ඉන්න එක missing, no? Okay. Answer the following questions using the above chart. Complete the above chart. People who are just joining, we are just doing a question discussion. So the first hour, I'm planning to do some questions. Then we'll move on to theory. Okay. Complete the above chart by writing the relevant group of living organisms on the dotted line in the boxes. Okay, we done that. Name the domain to which living organisms not sensitive to antibiotics belong. Antibiotics කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවද? Antibiotics are chemicals that we give to destroy, or let's say to fight what? Antibiotics are targeted against what? Bacteria. So any other domain other than bacteria will not be affected by antibiotics. Okay, so we give antibiotics to bacteria only. So you can say both archaea and eukarya. I mean, both of those can be correct. Okay, both of those are correct. Okay, archaea and eukarya both are not susceptible to um, antibiotics. To which kingdom do algae belong? Algae. To which kingdom do algae belong? Kingdom? Yes. Protista. Yes. There's another. So Protista actually contains two subcategories as algae and yes, protozoa. Protozoa වලට අහලා තියෙනවද Euglena, Paramecium, Amoeba එහෙම set එකක් අහලා තියෙනවා, right? So those are coming under kingdom Protista, right? Under protozoa. Characteristic specific to each group of invertebrate animals shown in the above classification chart is given below. Okay, bearing soft bodies. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ජොල් වගේ bodies තියෙන කාටද? Soft bodies. These are like something you can, if you just remember the examples for a particular kingdom, sorry, a class, you can quickly, I mean, with general knowledge, you can answer, no? Right? Mollusca, Bolubello, your slugs, snails, they have soft bodies. Division of the body into equal segments. Who are your segmented worms? Who are your segmented worms? Annelids, nil. Your segmented worms are annelids. Existing in two forms as polyps and medusa. Polyps ලා විදියට ඉන්නවා අර ගල් වලට attached to coral reefs. They exist as polyps or exist as jellyfish that can move. Yes, Nidaria. Or you can say, according to your syllabus, you can call them Soilenterata, Coelenterata. Okay, Coelenterata. Right? Any questions? The setup arranged by a student to study a factor essential for the photosynthesis process is given. Kept in the dark for 48 hours and then exposed for light for 5 hours. Afterwards, the glass strips covering the leaf were removed and tested for starch. To test which factor essential for photosynthesis, this setup was used. What are we testing for? Yes, what are we testing for? Yes, light. We removed light, right? It was kept in the dark for 48 hours. So removed light, then we gave it light. And even when we are giving it light, we covered some parts with what? Black glass strips. So this part was not given light. So what are we controlling here? It's light. It's light. You can even say yes, sunlight but it's fine. What is the reason for keeping the setup in the dark for 48 hours? What? Yes. If you, I mean, imagine, all right, imagine you kept this plant in the dark for 48 hours, so it can't do photosynthesis because light is essential. Photosynthesis, right? Light is the main, light is the main factor for photosynthesis. So without light, you can't do anything. So the plant is unable to produce food. So without food, what's going to happen? The plant is going to use the food it has already produced, right? So whatever the remaining food that it had produced earlier, කලින් හදලා තිබ්බ ටික කොහොම කොහම හරි use කළා, it's going to use whatever that was produced earlier when it had light, right? So when you keep it in dark for an extended period, all the food that was produced will be used. So what is the food that was produced? It's starch. So starch will be removed. Or you can say D starch කියලා කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. or you to go to remove starch. Remove starch or destarch. Write the color that can be seen in each of the following parts of the leaf when you test, right? So when the part covered with black glass strips, sorry, in the part covered with black glass strips, what's going to happen? There's no photosynthesis happening there because light can't go through black, right? So what is the test that we are doing? What is the test that we are doing to test for starch? We are adding sort of brown color iodine. We are adding brown color iodine. When you add it to starch, it's going to sort of become blue black color, no? Blue black color if starch is there. It's going to become blue black color if starch is there, right? So in a place where photosynthesis did not happen, what's going to happen? There is no starch, so it's going to remain as what uh, you can say yellow brown color of iodine, yellow or brown color of iodine. Colorless glass strips, right? Colorless glass strips. In those places, photosynthesis will happen, no? Through the colorless, again, a normal glass, sunlight can come. So through that, in those areas, you can say blackish blue or blackish blue or purple කියන්නත් පුළුවන් සමහරවිට purple color, right? It can, I mean, එක එකකට පේන එක එක විදියට. So when iodine is in touch with the starch, you can get this sort of blackish brown or sorry, blackish blue or purple color, those kind of things. No color change. No, they are, what are they asking? They are asking what? They are asking write the color. Color එක ලියන්න කියලා කියයි. Read the question very carefully. Yeah? This is how you lose marks. People, I mean, many students know the answer. හොඳටම දන්නවා. They know the theory. They know everything. But they don't read the question properly. Write the color. So you can't say there is no color change. You have to say what is the color that you can see. So if there is no starch, it's going to remain the color of iodine, which is brown or yellow. Okay. Part exposed to direct sunlight, that is almost the same, right? Same. Blackish blue or purple. Or you can say violet වගේ ඕන දම් පාටකට කියන නමක් කියන්න පුළුවන්. Okay. So I think that is 2019 paper. Any other bio part? Hold on. That's physics. That's physics. This question I think we discussed, right? No. Did we discuss this? I think we did, no? Right? In the previous paper discussion, we did. Garden pea plant story, we discussed. Neither. We discussed this. Okay. Watch the previous paper discussion video if you if you were not, I mean, if you didn't join live. So see, gastric juice contains hydrochloric acid. Chemistry වලත් අහනවා biology. Okay. Right. So that's it. No. Any other question? Domestic filament. Yes. Okay. Question number 8. Okay. Taggala karum, I'll give you 2-3 minutes. Okay. If you have the past paper, then you can check your own past paper book. 2019 question number 8. Essay question number 8. So at this point, I mean, you are very close to the exam, right? The best way to study is by doing past papers. Okay, the best way to study is by doing past papers because there is no time to study the entire textbooks at this point. The best use of your time is going to be by doing questions. Best use of your time is going to be doing questions. So that's what I'm going to trying to do to you. There will be a point in when you're doing A levels also, particularly for I mean when I'm doing sort of in the final revision classes for A level people, what I give them is to write essays again and again and again, essay questions, so that they will learn actively, right? In this last stages, so because of two things. One thing, you don't have the time. The other thing is you don't have, I mean, you are very stressed, right? So because of those two things, you can't probably focus very well into just studying the textbook. So the best thing is to do something active. Do questions and find the answer, questions and find the answer, right? That is going to be both, I mean, help you forget about the stress, I mean, minimize the stress as well as directly preparing you to answer questions because that's what you want to do, right? Go to the exam and answer questions. Science, yes, you need to learn science, yes, but now you have come to the end of that to go and do the paper. To do that, what you need is paper practice. Okay. Today, do we have any other seminars happening? Saturday? Yes. Okay. Right. Let's discuss this question. Okay. Name two characteristics of living organisms according to above observation. What can you see? මොනවද කියන්නේ? Aquatic plants are found in abundance. Okay. Gas bubbles are liberated by plants. Okay. That is okay. Fish in the pond swim. Okay. Kingfisher catches fish. Small insects come to the water surface from time to time and move down. Right. So, what are the things that they observed are features of living organisms? Right. Methane, one of the features of living organisms. You can say swimming is a movement. Swimming is a movement that is a feature of living organisms. Then what else? Why is this kingfisher catching fish and flies? To obtain nutrition. To obtain nutrients. To obtain nutrients. So nutrition is a living feature. Nutrition is a living feature. A species small insects come to the surface. There is also a movement. Make a book. What is this purpose of why are they evolving gas bubbles? Yes. I mean, those gas bubbles can be two things. Okay. Those gas bubbles can be two things. Um, Liberated by plants growing in submerged water. Yes. Yeah. What are they doing? I mean, yes. There's a small issue. You can say it is respiration, but it's actually photosynthesis happening. Huh? It is actually photosynthesis that is producing this oxygen, I mean, gas bubbles. Because why? They're asking name the gas present in abundance in the gas bubbles liberated by plants. Yes, that is oxygen gas. And what is the process? They are doing actually photosynthesis. They are actually doing photosynthesis. So the best answer here is not two characteristics. I mean, you can say best answer is not respiration. It's actually, you can say, metabolism. They are doing metabolism. They are doing metabolic activities. That's why they are producing gases. So I mean photosynthesis or even respiration, those are both metabolic activities. Those are both metabolic activities. So the best answer is metabolism. If you okay, right. What are the other characteristics of organisms that you need to know? What are the other characteristics of organisms that you need to know? Yes, they have cellular organization. They have nutrition. You can see cellular organization. You can't see here. What are the other? If I quickly remind you, right? If I quickly remind you, what are the characteristics organisms that you need to know? What are the characteristics? They have a cellular organization. That is the first thing, no? So they have a cellular organization. මේ හොඳට අන්තිම වතාවට මතක තියාගන්න. Right? They have a cellular organization. So if you take a unicellular organism, that is the single cell is the fundamental, let's say the lowest level that you can consider as a living organism, right? The lowest level that you can see. So what are the levels of organization? You have levels of cellular organization. What you can see, you have starting cells organize themselves into tissues, right? Organize themselves into tissues. They organize into organs get together to form, yes, organ systems. A collection of organ systems is called a organism. නේද? මේවා දන්නවනේ. A collection of organ systems is called an organism, right? Okay. What else? So one thing we talked about here is nutrition, right? Another thing that we talked about here, that is our kingfishers la, they are catching insects and right? So nutrition, yes. Nutrition is of two types. So I think yesterday also we talked about these two types of nutrition. What are the two types of nutrition? Autotrophic, yes, autotrophic nutrition, and what else? Please, what is the other type of nutrition? Yes, heterotrophic. Autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Yes. So autotrophic means what? Yes, autotrophic means what? Can they can produce their own food using energy from outside. They can produce their own food. That energy can be chemical or light energy. Also, if you are taking light energy as your energy source, you are autotrophic. Okay. Any questions? Send to the main chat. Okay. Send to the main chat. Then autotrophic, you can divide into two parts, right? Autotrophic, you can divide into two parts, right? Autotrophic, that if you're using light energy, then you can, if they're using chemicals, right? If they're using chemical energy to produce food, they are chemoheterotrophs, right? Using usually bacteria, chemoheterotrophs, right? අපි ඔයගොල්ලෝ එළවලු වලට අහම ඉගෙන ගන්නවා purple sulfur bacteria, green sulfur bacteria, they are using sulfur compounds. They are using sulfur compounds as their energy source to produce food, right? Photoautotrophs, of course, plants and green algae, those kind of organisms can use light energy, right? So heterotrophic, they have to eat other organisms, right? They have to eat other organisms in order to obtain their, right? So then you have, so cellular organization, one, two, right? I'll quickly summarize characteristics of living organisms. එතකොට මට කියන්න පුළුවන් මම ඒ පාඩමත් කරා කියලා, okay? Right. Okay. Then what is next? It's respiration. It's respiration, right? All organisms need energy for their metabolism, right? They obtain this energy. So there's a question: what is metabolism? Metabolism it's a big word. I mean, it's a massive. I mean, a thought. It's a word that we use to describe every chemical reaction taking place in an organism. All the chemical reactions taking place inside you. If you take a dog, a bacteria, a tree, a plant, right? Whatever, a living organism, the chemical reactions taking place inside are called metabolic reactions. Okay. So those metabolic reactions need energy, right? So what is the definition? The process by which stored food is transformed to energy inside is known as cellular respiration. Cellular respiration mm, cannot be observed directly, So I mean, okay. Cellular respiration, what they have given here is in your characteristic of organisms, we only talk about aerobic respiration, right? Respiration can be two types, yeah? Anaerobic respiration, or it can be aerobic respiration, right? Anaerobic respiration takes place without oxygen. So it can be two types as lactic acid fermentation and ethyl alcohol fermentation. මේ මතකයි නේද? මට කියන්න බලන්න an organism that is doing ethyl alcohol fermentation ටක් ගාලා කියන්න. An organism that is doing ethyl alcohol fermentation quickly. Right. ඔයාලා දැනගන්න ඕනේ, right? An organism that is doing ethyl alcohol fermentation. Ethanol fermentation. Who's that? Yes. Yeast. Yeast is doing ethyl alcohol fermentation, right? You know these things. Okay. Yeast. Lactic acid, that happens when? Can you make lactic acid? Oh, you can hear me, right? What's happening? Send me a response. Yes. Can you make lactic acid? Can you make lactic acid? Yes. You can make lactic acid in your muscles when you have not enough oxygen. When you are doing something, a very fast activity, when you are doing a very fast activity, your body does not have time to give you enough oxygen. So you are going to switch to anaerobic respiration. That anaerobic respiration is going to produce lactic acid. Aerobic respiration is, no, right? Take oxygen, you are going to do aerobic respiration. Okay, quickly tell me which sort of respiration produces more energy? Which sort of respiration produces more energy? Which respiration produces more energy? Aerobic respiration, right? A level result, you will calculate even the numbers of ATP, right? Even the numbers of ATP. I'll just tell you. If you are doing aerobic respiration for a glucose molecule, you are going to get 32 ATP. What is ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. It's a mobile molecule. You know these things. 32 ATPs are produced, but if you are doing anaerobic respiration, you are only producing 4 ATPs usually. Right? What I want to tell you is, right, anaerobic respiration is very inefficient. It's very inefficient, but it can produce energy very fast. It can produce energy very fast. Okay, the body can produce energy very fast with anaerobic respiration, but only a small amount of energy. Okay. Then what's the next characteristic? Quickly, yeah. Irritability and coordination. Okay, I will come here. Okay, right. Irritability and coordination. What is irritability? Right? Irritability and coordination. What is irritability? What is the definition of irritability? Yes. Ability to respond to stimuli received from internal or external environment. So when you get a stimulus, when your body gets a stimulus, right, your body should be able to react to it. Otherwise, you are a dead organism, right? If you are not able to react to things, that's a stimulus that you hear, right? You are going to react to it. by becoming irritated, right? So irritability means not becoming irritated, right? Irritated is one of the reactions, right? Irritability means that you are able to react to a stimulus, right? So okay, so when you get a stimulus because of irritability, this stimulus and living organism will have a response to this stimulus. So your mother waking you up in the morning is the stimulus, and your response by going back to sleep or saying something in return, මට බෑ හරි මොකක් හරි කියන එක, that is your response, right? That is your response. So two words you need to remember: stimulus and the response, right? Definitely remember those. How do you detect a stimulus? By your sensory organs, your nose. So how did you hear your mother's voice? By your ears, yeah, taste, by your taste buds, ear, nose, tongue, skin. The stimuli can be, you can classify them according to their physical nature as light, sound waves, chemicals, mechanical, right? All those things. Then what is coordination? If you didn't have coordination, even if you get stimulus, you won't be able to nicely react to them, right? So you need to have a communication between different organs in order to properly react. In order to produce this response, you need to have a coordination, right? Coordination between different organs. So the communication between different organs during responding to a stimulus is known as coordination. So how did you react? Imagine, so your mother tells you to study, you hear it with your ears. Ears will convert that sound into a nerve signal. So now the nervous system is working. It will be sent to your brain. You go back to sleep by having your bed sheet over your head. So how are you reacting? By the muscular system. So what are the coordinating systems there? Your nervous system and your muscular system. Usually those are the most common systems. Sometimes your hormonal system can get involved as well, endocrine system. Okay. Finally, right, ටක් ගාලා මේක ඉවරයක් කරමු. Right, we'll go back to the question. Okay, excretion. Organisms should be able to excrete the waste matter that they don't need. Right, removal of waste products from the body that are produced during metabolism is known as excretion. So be able to produce excretory substances is a feature of living organisms. What are your excretory substances? Through your urine, you are producing urea, salt, and water. Through your exhale gases, you are removing excessive carbon dioxide, and also, have you blown onto a cold glass? Om Pimbaham, what are you getting? Water vapor. That means what? Your exhaled air has water, right? Then also your sweat. Through your sweat, you can also release salts and water. Okay, so those are your excretory products. Then finally, there is something that we found in this question as well. Organisms should be able to move. That is not exactly correct, right? Mega all you learn, but all organisms should not be able to move, but it's given, right? Organisms should be able to move, right? What do they use? Depending on the size of the organism, right? If you are a very small organism, what are the small locomotive structures that you have? What are the very small locomotive structures that you have? Cilia, right? Cilia, flagella. Those are very small locomotive structures. And if you take like a amoeba, amoeba का कोई तो how do they move? Amoeba, how do they move? By pseudopodia, right? So those are small unicellular organisms used by those sort of locomotive structures. Then multicellular, මෙතන small නෙවෙයි, these are unicellular. Okay, multicellular have big structures such as your what? Legs, fins or wings, right? These are basic things, right? And then finally, we'll talk about uh, something very important. If you take a big population, if you take a population, one of the most important things is able to reproduce. Being able to reproduce is a very, very important feature, right? Being able to reproduce is a very, very important feature, right? So reproduction can be of two types, right? I'm giving you a very quick summary on the tahang inna, right? I want you to today itself അത് മേറ്റിക്ക് പാടാൻ ഇവർക്കാണ്. Reproduction can be two types as asexual and sexual. Okay, reproduction can be of two types, asexual and sexual, right? I think reproduction in the reproduction session I talked about the differences, right? To do asexual reproduction, you only need one parent, ekkenaione, gametes are not produced. Can someone quickly tell me what is the cell division in asexual reproduction? What is the cell division in asexual reproduction? Mitosis. What is the reproduction cell division method in sexual reproduction? It's meiosis. Okay, meiosis cell division, right? So those are that is about reproduction. Okay. Then finally we come to growth and development. Living organisms should be able to grow and develop, right? Mehmai, right? Always when you are writing these living organism features, always if you are going to write growth and development, දෙකම අනිවාර්යෙන් ලියන්න, right? නිකම්ම growth කියලා ලියලා don't stop, right? Growth should always be associated with development. Growth should always be associated with development, otherwise it's wrong. Okay, otherwise it's wrong. Growth should always be associated with development. Okay, so what is growth? Yes, yes, what is the definition of growth that you have? You can give two definitions based on, you can give two definitions based on if it's a unicellular organism or a multicellular organism, right? If it's a unicellular organism, ඒගොල්ලන්ට එක cell එකයි නේද? If it's a unicellular organism, they only have one cell, right? So if it's a unicellular organism, what is growth for him? That is just the growth of that single cell. No? If it's a unicellular organism, just the increase in size and volume of that single cell. That is the growth for them. Okay. But if you take a multicellular organism, there are three steps for their growth and development. First thing, okay, their size of the cells increase. Then increasing the number of cells. How do they increase the number of cells? By cell division. And finally, whatever the new cells that are produced have to undergo differentiation. What do you mean by differentiation? So when you were a single cell, right? When you were produced, you were a single cell called the zygote. No? Then the zygote became a ball of cells that is called the morula. Matakada. These things you can remember, right? So this ball of cells that is called the morula became developed into all the systems in your body, your nervous system, your digestive system, your respiratory system, your blood circulatory system, everything came from this ball of cells. That is because the cells differentiated. Okay, so that is those are the three steps of multicellular growth and development. Any questions? Okay, clear, right? So growth and development quickly summarized. We quickly summarize growth. I mean, sorry, characteristics of organisms. We quickly summarize within a few minutes. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Sure. Okay. We'll come back to our paper quickly, right? So අපි ගොඩක් දුර ගියා. right? Out of the aquatic plants, observe which is the dioecious plant. Why is it called a dioecious plant? What is the pollinating agent? Okay, so this part I will explain today with the remaining plant reproduction part that I have to discuss, right? This part I will explain. What do you mean by dioecious? Why it is called a dioecious? What is the pollinating agent? And make it in from the interactions observed by the student, construct a food chain. Construct a food chain. What do you mean by a food chain? Right? What do you mean by a food chain? Yes, it's a sequence of yeah. What is the definition of a food chain? What is the definition of a food chain? Yes. And what are the features of a food chain that you need to know? What are the features of a food chain that you need to know? Yes. Always a food chain starts with a primary producer. There should be a primary producer. That means someone who is able, so is someone who is a autotroph should be there. A autotroph should always be there. No, then you have to go to consumers. So primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumers, like that. You have food chains, right? So always you have to start a food chain. So primary producers are there, then you have consumers. Right? So always a food chain should start from a primary producer, right? So what are the best food chains that you can see here? What are the food chains that you can see here? Always you have to start with the primary producer, IIT, right? So always you have to say aquatic plants, right? Within in a primary producer, you can see aquatic plants, no, right? There are no other um, autotrophs. These are Hydrilla, Valisneria, Kekatia, Salvinia, Aponogeton. Okay, right? All those are the primary producers. So you have to start from there. Then you can move on to whatever organisms that are feeding on these aquatic plants. Who can feed on aquatic plants? Mama dekama dinnan. Your insects can feed on aquatic plants, or your fish can feed on aquatic plants. So then your insects can be eaten by the fish, or your fish can be eaten by the kingfisher, no? Or you can say your insects are eaten by the kingfisher also, right? Got it? Aquatic plants can be eaten by fish or insects. Insects can be eaten by the fish, or aquatic plants, fish, kingfisher, or you can say aquatic plants, insects, and kingfisher. So what did මෙතන උනේ මොකද එතකොට? Food web එකක් වුණා, right? Okay. ඔයගලන්ට මෙතන if you, without saying aquatic plants, if you wrote Salvinia, sorry, yes, Salvinia, Vallisneria, or වගේ එකකින් if you started, that is also fine. Okay. As regards to above observations, present two factors to justify that the pond can be considered as an ecosystem. What are the features of an ecosystem? What do you call an ecosystem? Kenaba? If you need an ecosystem, you need to have living and non-living components as well. You need to have living and non-living things, right? In an ecosystem, you need to have living and non-living, and also that ecosystem should be sort of what we call as independent. They don't need any other sort of nutrition from outside, right? Nutrients or material from outside. Okay. So two facts to justify. So they are asking two facts to justify. You can write this. There are living components and non-living components, and also you can write they interact. Because why? What are the interactions that you can see? Um, you can see living and living interactions, and also plants producing gas bubbles, that is living and non-living interaction, right? And also what can you say? It's say they say it's a sunny day, no? Sunny day එකක් නම් that means that ecosystem is getting light. So there is light in the system as well. So you can say it's a ecosystem, right? There are living and non-living components and they interact. Right? ඔක තේරුණා නේද? Got it? Okay. Any questions? Then let's move on to another paper, right? We'll do some. We have a few minutes in the first hour, right? අපි යමු 2020 paper. Okay, 2020 paper. There's a question from the digestive system. So I'll for anyone who missed yesterday, I'll discuss the digestive system while we are doing. Okay. Something very simple MCQ given here, right? You can easily identify, right? Easily identify. Which one is smooth muscle? Which one is skeletal muscle? Which one is cardiac muscle? Yes, you can quickly identify it. How do you identify? Megolo. These are. How do you identify? Hold on. There's a link. That's a question that I want to discuss. This one. That is from the digestive system. Okay, that is from the digestive system. Yes, this one. All right. Given below is a sketch of part of the human digestive system. Name the parts labeled P, Q, and R. Yes. Taggal Mekanba. Do this question quickly. I will give you 5 minutes. Okay. Part A. 5 minutes, no, 3 minutes is enough. Okay. Yeah. Today's session I will do a few. I mean, a bit longer. Okay. Yes. This is 2020. Yeah. 2020. Right. Okay. Okay. I can't zoom it. Okay, right. Shall we discuss it? 2020, yeah? Okay. We'll discuss more. Any questions? Do you have any other seminars happening at this time? Yes? No, right? Okay. Then where are the people today? Are they doing self-studying? Okay. Anyway, name the parts, label Q and A. Who is this big guy? Yeah. Who is this big one? How the biggest gland in your body? That is the liver. Huh? This is the bag, right? Which is a sac, stomach. This is this. What is this yellow color? Right. Usually it's yellowish color. Who is that? Yes, Kian. Tagala Kian. Who is it? Is the pancreas. There are pancreatic hormones, right? Pancreatic enzymes and pancreatic hormones, right? A secretion. Describe briefly how food is subjected to mechanical digestion in pee. Oh, yes. How do you describe it? Yes. How do you describe it? By muscle contraction. By muscle contraction. Or you can say, look at that. You can say peristalsis. You can say that's something called, I mean, it is still, you can say it's muscle contraction or it is peristalsis. Or the kemma, you can say it is mechanical diet. Okay. A secretion essential for emulsification of lipids contained in food is produced by Q. Name that secretion. Right. Q is liver. Liver produces three things. Huh? I think I told you yesterday, right? Liver. Liver produces three things. I mean, liver produces one big thing, and in there you have liver. Liver produces, yes, can bile. Bile has three things. What are three things in bile? Bile pigments, bile, salts, and what else? Bile pigments, bile salts, and what else? That's it, right? Bile pigments, bile salts. So, okay. So, bile salts has this special function that is called what? Bile salts has this special function that is called can. What is the special function of bile salts? Emulsification. What do you mean by emulsification is, I think I told yesterday also, if you take lipids, they like to exist as this sort of big lipid ball. They like to exist as this big lipid ball. This lipid ball has low surface area. No? It's one big ball, so the surface area is low. So what these bile salts are going to do is it's going to break it down to small lipid drops, right? Lipid droplets, and these bile salts are going to surround them. හොඳට වට කරගෙන ඉන්නවා. These are going to surround these bile lipid drops so that they can't get together to become another ball of lipids again. So this increases the surface area for what? For the lipase enzyme. For lipase enzyme to work, right? So it increases the surface area for the lipase enzyme to work. So this is going to increase the efficiency of, yes, increase the efficiency of lipid digestion. Yes, and also, yeah, you can say bile contains bicarbonates. Mainly, bicarbonates are found in. I won't. Okay, right? You can say bile contains bicarbonate and a bit of water as well. I think it's right. If it's a secretion, it contains water definitely. If it's a secretion, it contains water. Okay, bicarbonates, bile salts, and bile pigments are found in bile. Okay. Come back to the question. Oh no, this is 2019. What happened? Okay. A secretion essential for emulsification. Oh yeah, what is that secretion? So what is the secretion? We didn't find out the. We didn't write the answer. What is the secretion? That is bile. Bile. What is the enzyme which is secreted by R? Okay, pancreas contributes to digest lipids. That may I just told you this. Lipase. Lipids nang lipase. Very easy to remember. State 2 products formed by the action of that enzyme on lipids. What are the breakdown products of lipids? You break down lipids to produce glycerol and fatty acids. A level you will learn about how fatty acids get together. You actually need 3 fatty acids, 1 glycerol to form 1 lipid molecule. The pair of hormones, insulin and glucagon, produced by R or the pancreas, contribute to maintain the internal environment. What is the factor that is regulating the internal environment of the body by the action of those two hormones? Yes. What is the thing that is regulated? It is the glucose level. No? Glucose level. What's the question? Repeat again. Emulsification process. Okay. After this question, I'll come back. Okay. Explain briefly how those hormones contribute to regulate the factor you labeled. I mean, you mentioned above. Mehmet. Okay. Right. So imagine glucose level is high. So your glucose exists in an equilibrium like this. What is the equilibrium that you have glucose? Glucose exists in equilibrium with another compound that is the storage form of glucose that is called glycogen. Neither glucose and glycogen exist in this sort of balance. When you have too much glucose, this balance will shift to this way. This balance will shift to this way because you have too much glucose. The glucose has to be converted to glycogen and stored in the where? कोई the glycogen store करा कियन बा टग्गल कियन. Where do you store glycogen? Yes, liver, right? So glucose will be converted to glycogen and stored in the liver. So that is done by the hormone insulin. When you have too much glucose, it will be converted to glycogen. And on the other hand, when you don't have enough glucose, your glucose levels are very low, then your glycogen will have to be converted to glucose so that your body has enough glucose. I think I told you yesterday, your brain particularly demands glucose. There are glucose natu whenever natu bad nikan ara henama needy, okay? The brain is very needy. So this glycogen will have to be converted back to glucose, that is by the hormone glucagon. So when glucose levels are high, insulin converts the glucose into. So these are, I mean, these are signals. Huh? Insulin gives a signal to convert glucose to glycogen. So when glucose levels are low, glucagon gives a signal for the glycogen to be converted back to glucose. That's what happens. So if I talk about this emulsification again, right? If you have any chemical reaction, how can you increase the rate of the chemical reaction? By increasing the surface area. Okay. So in order to increase the surface area, what can we do is we can break down the big balls of lipid into small droplets of lipid. That increases the surface area. So when you increase the surface area, this lipase enzyme can come and act on the lipid. So bile salts are going to surround these lipid droplets and prevent them from becoming a big ball of lipids. Got it? Okay. Then finally, briefly explain how those hormones contribute to regulate the factor you stated in A above. So that's what we talked. Okay. When a glucose level is greater than the normal level, glucose convert to glycogen by the insulin. Glucose is less than normal, it will be converted to glycogen will be converted back to glucose. Okay. Then next question. With this, I'll explain the excretory system as well. With this question, kidneys are considered the main organs which perform nitrogenous excretion in humans. What is excretion? All right. අපි යමු to talk about a bit about excretion. Okay. Let's make an excretion note. Okay. Excretion. What do you mean by excretion? Yes. What do you mean by excretion? What is the definition of excretion? Yes. Removal of excretory products. Right. Removal of excretory products produced during metabolism. Removal of excretory products produced during metabolism. Metabolism means what? The sum of all biochemical reactions taking place in your body. Okay. So that is metabolism. And excretion is going to get rid of the waste products of metabolism. So there are several examples for excretory products, right? Several examples for excretory products and different organs involved in getting rid of these excretory products. So your lungs, I told you, mainly carbon dioxide and water vapor, right? You produce water vapor in what? During cellular respiration, you produce water vapor. You produce water. So that water has to be gotten rid of. It can be done through your exhale gas as well. Then urea, uric acid, salts and water by the kidney, which is our main excretory organ. Our kidneys are your main excretory organs. Then also urea, uric acid, sodium chloride and water. I mean, yes. So අපි kidney එකේ salts කිව්වහම that includes sodium chloride as well. Okay. But your skin is a excretory organ as well. Then you need to know why fecal matter is not an excretory product, because why? It is undigested food. Fecal matter is not an excretory product. Okay. Then what are the excretory organs and what are the things you need to know about the excretory system? I'll show you with the software. Okay. So the human excretory system is actually a very simple system. I mean, with minimum number of organs, with minimum number of organs, right? අපි male urinary system එක let's take a look, right? I'll get rid of these bones, right? So right, so very simple, no? The male urinary system is very simple, right? You mainly have your two big kidneys, not too big, I mean they are actually kind of small, මේ වගේ bean විතර size, right? You have two kidneys. You can see, if you take a look, your right kidney is a bit low, no? Right kidney is a bit low. Why do you think right kidney is a bit low? You can Joliet, right? Why do you think your right kidney? අපි පිටිපස්සෙන් බලන්නේ, okay? My right kidney is a bit lower than my left kidney. Why is that? Can anyone tell me? Ruler pain on it? Yes, very good. Right. If I add the digestive system organs, you can see what is this? That is a liver. Right? So because of the liver, the right kidney is sort of pushed a bit down. No? The right kidney is pushed a bit down. Okay. Okay. So we'll remove those. Right. Coming back to our urinary system, you have kidneys, and starting from the kidneys, you have your these two tubes that are going to take the formed urine into your storage bag, that is the bladder. So these tubes are called your ureters, right? You have left ureter and right ureter. This is the bag of urine, that is called the storage of urine, that is the bladder, right? So from the bladder, in males and females both, there's the output to the outside that is going to take the urine to be removed. That is called the urethra. Okay, urethra. So if I show you the female urinary system, that is much more simpler. You have the urethra, very short, that is coming out. Okay, from the bladder. Okay. Any questions? So then we'll take a look at the cross section of a kidney. Yeah? We'll take a cross section, look at the cross section of a kidney, because you need to know, right? So These are the parts. The kidneys have an outer part that is called the cortex and an inner part that is so the blue part is called the outer cortex, and inside you have what we call as, yes, Kianaba, renal pyramids, right? Renal pyramids, right? So they all merge into this sort of what we call as the renal pelvis, and from there you have the ureters that are going out, right? These are the kidneys and these are the pyramids. Okay. Then if you go to a nephron, right? If you go to the structure of a nephron, what do you mean by the nephron? Yes. What is a nephron? Yes. So there is a nephron. It has a few, let's say, a few parts. What is the meaning of the nephron? What do you mean by the nephron in the excretory system? It's the functional unit of the kidney, functional unit of the kidney. So kidney is actually a collection of these nephrons. A kidney is a collection of these nephrons. So the kidney works like a kidney because they have nephron. So nephron is like the working part, right? So this is the functional unit of the kidney, that is the nephron. What are the parts of the nephron? This is called, yes, Bowman's capsule, right? So into the Bowman's capsule, you have blood vessels going and blood vessels coming out. Then this first part of this tube, this is a tube, right? You can see the nephron is a continuous tube and it is surrounded by blood vessels. These are the blood vessels. What is the first part of this tube? There is a proximal convoluted tubule. Then there's a part going down that is called the descending limb of what? Canva? Descending limb of what? Loop of, yes, descending limb of loop of Henle. Then Henle, yeah. Then this is the ascending limb that is going up. Then you have the distal convoluted tubule. Then you have the collecting duct. You can see the collecting ducts is connected to other distal convoluted tubules. So this collecting ducts collect. You can say that now at this part of the nephron you have urine. So it collects urine from several nephrons or collecting ducts. Distal convoluted tubules. So this is basically it. It's a very simple uh, arrangement that you need to know. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Right. So fecal matter is not considered as a excretory product. That's what we were talking about. Then urinary system. What are the parts of the urinary system? If you take a quick labeling, right? You have a kidney. How many kidneys? You have two. How many ureters you have? You have two. How many bladders do you have? You have only one. Then you have one urethra. If you can talk about the kidneys, right? What are the parts of the kidney? Yeah. So the outermost layer of the kidney, right? If I quickly draw a kidney, right? The outermost layer of the kidney is called the capsule. Kidney එකට තියෙනවා, it's like a ලුණු ගෙඩියක පොත්ත වගේ. It has a sort of a outer covering that is called the capsule, and then inside you have, there's an outer layer and there's a inner layer. Inner layer contains what we call as renal pyramids. Is there lag? Okay, hold on.